chapter 3, getting started, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. What an important chapter. We're talking about discipline. I'm reading through the manuscript of what works when diets don't. And I do want to remind everyone that you can actually download this book right now if you need additional help, and you can read the whole thing at our church website for free, westsidechristianfellowship.org. All of my books are there as free downloads. We've had thousands of, last time I checked, it was 6,000 downloads a couple of years ago. So lots of people have went there. Looking forward to getting resources in your hand. Of course, it's available, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, whatever, but we want to offer that for you. There are few greater feelings than controlling our desires rather than having our desires control us. And gosh, this is why I think is an important topic, and why I like recording this book is I'm a fellow struggler. If I don't watch it, I would be easily 40 pounds overweight or so, because, just when you stop, like say, drinking alcohol, you turn to food as your comfort. That's why if you go to AA meetings, okay, they've never drank in years, but they're, get out there and get a pack of cigarettes and got to get that half a cup of, see that the addiction doesn't really, we just shift the addictions. And so it's hard. You got to really deal with what's really going on inside. And so someone who's, it's a constant battle. And if I don't stay on top of it, it will, I don't know if take me down is the right word, but it will really severely hinder my life. And while I'm recording this, I think just yesterday, the final report came out on Mandisa. I might date myself here for you guys listening later. Mandisa, who died of obesity and heart-related illnesses. And man, my heart just broke because that's what a lot of this is about. And it's I got one of those scales a while back that it's more expensive, but it can weigh your body mass index, fat percentage, all these different things. And I got on it, I think back then it said 220, okay. And then it said all these red, obese, overweight, I'm like, wow. Of course I don't trust those things. But then under, muscle mass, it did say very high. And so, you kind of got to compensate for, but it was, man, I saw that, I'm like, obese. But if you look at the definition of obesity, and also we have to remember, I try to think in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, go look at some videos. We did a Amazon, documentary it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's something like, one pastor's 40-day fasting journey. And we show pictures of New York in the 1950s. There's no one overweight. And so, technically, like at my height, I should probably weigh, a good, healthy, even if you're working out, 180, 185. So to be 220, 35 pounds overweight is definitely overweight, because I think it's every pound of body weight, your body creates a extra mile of arteries. The heart's working harder. So, slender, health-wise, slender is the way to go. There's just no way around that. But let me get into this chapter. Is discipline really important? Oh, I remember what I was going to say. And remember, I'm not reading the manuscript exactly the way it appears in the book. I'm adding a lot of new information in. That's why I'm excited to do this. But I would say, as I'm going through my own journey right now, discipline is very important. And so I kind of cringe sometimes when I hear, health professionals say, what, it's not your fault. It's genetics. You were, I don't know what they'll say. You just got to do this for 30 days. You got, do my program. It's not about calories. It's not about what kind of food you eat. And it's like, guys, you're gravely mistaken. Discipline, self-control is actually a biblical principle. The fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, contentment, long-suffering, gentleness, kindness, self-control, perseverance, commitment, fortitude. So I think if we remember, okay, this is going to be a journey. It's going to be a battle, but I can finish strong. So yes, discipline is very important. Through extensive contact within the fitness industry, I found that many people recognize the need for discipline, but they believe that they had little, if any. So I'm going to encourage you with this chapter, because you do have extraordinary discipline if you want it. And I kind of tease our congregation sometimes. We have 6 a.m. worship in the morning. And I say, hey, next Sunday, the first 100 people, we're actually going to give $10,000 to cash, the first 100. I guarantee there would be a line starting a week prior, sleeping out front, bringing their tents. Oh, they just became very disciplined. Very disciplined. Why? Because the motivation. So see, the motivation is often what fuels the discipline. And I love listening to podcasts by Navy SEALs, or from Navy SEALs. Maybe because I'm close to Camp Pendleton down there, or the SEAL training in San Diego, Coronado. I've been down there, love it. Just kind of love that type of manly man as far as, the characteristics and the strength. I don't think I could have ever went through SEAL training. I wasn't motivated. But, listening to them, a lot of them had that deep motivation. I had to prove my parents or my dad wrong, or I had to get through this. Like Chris Beck, who was on my program, who was transgender switchback. He was on my podcast, how his father, and just having to please his father or to accomplish something. And a lot of the other guys, the Sean Ryan's podcast, and we've had another Navy SEAL, Chad Williams, who spoke at our church, and just the motive behind it. You're like, okay, I can see how, like, they go into it like, I'm either going to pass or I'm going to die. They're going to bury me in the sand. That's some motivation versus, well, it'd be cool to be a Navy SEAL. I'm going to go through it. And then, man, you're not going to make it a day or two. The motivation is key. So same thing. My point is same thing with health and fitness and weight loss. So what happens, though, is they fail to recognize that they already do possess a discipline. They just have to tap into it. If it were possible to have offered them a generous sum of money as soon as they reached their weight loss goal, they would have become quickly motivated and highly disciplined. I just use this example with the church, right? And they would have lost the desired weight. Most people would. I'm sure there's exceptions, but if there's a huge reward at the end, we're going to become very disciplined. So what about the reward of feeling better and sleeping better and inflammation down and the body feeling better and the serotonin's up and the endorphins and spending time with your kids, and I can finally, spend time with my grandkids and play with them, and I'm sharp and I feel like, I can protect my family. What about all that? That should definitely motivate us. Health is far more valuable than money. I'd rather be motivated. Hey, Shane, if you can get your weight loss goal, here's 100,000. Okay. Versus if you can get to your weight loss goal, the productivity of your life is going to be, highly increased. I don't know if that's right grammar wise, but it sounded good. It's going to be increased greatly. How's that? So what we have to do then is focus on discipline. Discipline is often referred to as training the mind or the body, and it is. So what was kind of hard discipline for me years ago, now it's actually part of my life. People say, isn't it hard to eat healthy? Not at all. I don't crave, I have it now and then, but I don't crave fast food. Like after church, everyone's wanting to get to fast food this, fast food that, and I just want to get home and I'm craving healthy food because I feel better. I don't want to go to a nap. I'm not tired. I'm not sluggish. And so exercising, I get up in the morning, early in the morning, spend my time with God, get the exercising done. I've got the rest of the day. It just becomes, it's actually not hard at all. It's very easy because you have formed a habit. And that's what discipline is. It's our ability to control our actions and our habits and thus our lifestyle. If we exercise discipline in one area, it helps to regulate and strengthen this control valve of discipline in other areas. So, for example, I just mentioned the military. You will find that those people are highly disciplined in other areas of life as well. Or what I just mentioned, all of those things I just mentioned help me live a disciplined life. Now, do I fall? Absolutely. The key is to fall forward and get back on track. But discipline fuels better discipline in other areas, and it adds structure to your life. And you can get off that couch. You can lose that 100 pounds. You can start eating better. You just have to keep falling forward and get back up and trusting in God and praying for strength. Basically, that we have to focus on better health. And why that's more important is, if you focus on, I've made this mistake years ago. I don't do it anymore because I learned my lesson, but okay, by July 1st, I'm going to have a 6-pack. I'm going to, look like The Rock, but smaller. That's not really a believer. That shouldn't be your focus. That shouldn't even be the goal. Because then what happens? Oh, I'm not looking like The Rock quick enough. Or for women, I don't know who it is. I'm not looking, forget it, this isn't working. Well, see, that goal was short-sighted, but the goal of longevity and feeling better and taking care of your body, internally things are going good. It's just a matter of time. And it's much more, it's easier to stay disciplined when it's on realistic goals and the right mindset. If we exercise discipline in one area, it helps to regulate and strengthen discipline in other areas. And there are few greater feelings than controlling our desires rather than having our desires control us. Isn't that true? And that's why, when I did that, I did a message and I've written on pornography and the addiction of pornography. A lot of times you'll see it is tied with sexual sin in general, is tied with addiction to other things, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, usually mainly like meat and carbohydrates, that animalistic nature. A lot of that's all tied together. If I'm not disciplined and I keep having these cigarettes, there's a chance I'm going to go on a website I shouldn't, and I don't smoke. I'm just giving examples. Or man, if I do this and I turn to alcohol, now I'm gonna be more susceptible to porn. Now I'm not going to get into the Word of God much anymore, and it's all connected. And so when we're tempted, we should ask ourselves, should I pass on this tempting food choice and feel the pain of discipline for approximately 5 to 10 minutes? Or should I indulge and experience the pain of regret? And I can tell you, again, you want to balance your life. It's going to look a lot different for different people. Earlier on, I was kind of worried what people thought, and people make fun of me. Oh, Shane can't have a Snickers bar. Shane can't have a cupcake. Yes, Shane can. Shane just chooses not to, and sometimes I do. But if I'll go somewhere, I'll be prepared. Maybe I'll eat something very healthy before I get to the barbecue or the kids' party or whatever. And then I'm not going to pig out. Because that's what happens. We go hungry. We pig out on all this junk food. And then when I make these choices, I feel so much better later in the day. I just decide to fast for lunch and just felt God was doing that this week. But I had a meeting at my favorite Mexican restaurant with some other pastors, and he said, Lord, I'm going to follow this. I mean, I don't have to eat, and they're ordering this Mexican food. It looks great, but I'm like, you know what? God just strengthened me, and I felt so much better leaving there because I didn't cave in. Now, do I do that perfectly all the time? No, but you got to get back and keep fighting. So discipline is so important. Don't believe the lies out there that it doesn't matter. And I hate when people say, it's not your fault. Now I know what they're saying, because if I'm working with, when I used to help people, and let's say there were, I've a friend of mine, Joy Robinson. I don't know if I mentioned. I think I thanked her in my book. She was on Oprah, and we're talking, around what year was that? 1999, possibly. 500 pounds or so. Just what a great person. We had a great, friendship. Tried to help her. There's other trainers that did help her. But you have to have compassion, because I don't know her level of hormones. You remember I talked about glucagon, insulin, genetic predisposition. I mean, if you've got hormones and it's hard and your body is storing fat, and it's really challenging to lose. You can't say, come on. And, I know trainers, let's say would make fun of her. Well, they can eat junk food and their body won't change. They can go to CrossFit Games next month. So genetics do play a role. But like I said before, they load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. And of course, Joy could have done, a lot more other things, but there's a lot of pain and stuff. But just really, she passed away because of these things years ago. But I do remember that friendship and just feeling the compassion for her. But and I don't think we should let it hit us hard, like it is your fault. It is your fault. But you can't say it's not my fault, because we can make changes, and if we choose not to make changes, it does. The responsibility does fall on us. I'm leery of giving this example because I don't like it, but I think it proves a good point. Is if you studied anything about the concentration camps, 6 million people, nobody was overweight, zero. And so, when you say a fat gene or it's genetics, no, they're at about 900 to 1,200 calories a day, and eventually they got to the point of starvation. And so I think, we can make different choices, and I'm here to help in this area of self-discipline. Many authors and diet consultants argue that discipline and willpower cannot change behavior. I agree that discipline alone is not the answer, but totally dismissing it is an invitation for disaster. Addiction is often referred to as giving oneself up to a habit because of a lack of discipline and then becoming dependent upon that habit. Therefore, if the lack of discipline causes bad habits, then the application of discipline in the right areas can help produce good habits. We're going to talk a little bit more about this in the next episode.